On the night of October 14th, 2023, in a quiet suburb of Portland, Oregon, a woman named Claire Dawson walked out of her front door. She crossed the driveway, reached into her pocket for her car keys, put the key in the door, and was never seen again. No signs of a struggle, no broken windows, no screams heard by any neighbor. No body was ever found at the scene. No ransom note arrived. No suspicious calls were made from her phone. The street was empty. The neighborhood was silent. By morning, it was as if Claire Dawson had simply ceased to exist. Detectives used a word they are trained never to say, vanished. She had simply vanished, or so it seemed, because somewhere across that quiet street, behind the darkened windows of number 11 Harrow Lane, was a man who had seen everything. The problem was that man had been dead for 3 weeks. To understand this case, you have to understand Maple Creek, because Maple Creek was not the kind of place where people disappear. It was a small, tight-knit suburb on the southwest edge of Portland, population 847, the kind of neighborhood where residents waved to each other from their driveways and left their porch lights on for each other at night. The houses were modest but well kept. Kids rode their bikes on the sidewalk without anyone worrying. The most serious police call in the past 2 years had been a noise complaint about a birthday party that ran past 11. Crying, real crying, felt like something that happened somewhere else. Not here, not on Harrow Lane. Claire Dawson had moved to Maple Creek 6 years before she disappeared. She was 34 years old, originally from Seattle. She worked as a kindergarten teacher at a local elementary school. By every account, she was exactly the person you would want teaching your 5-year-old. Patient, warm, creative, deeply committed to her students. Her colleagues described her as someone who stayed late to decorate her classroom. She remembered every child's birthday and cried at the end of every school year when her class moved on. Outside of school, she kept a quiet life. She had a small circle of close friends. She enjoyed hiking on weekends. And she had a tabby cat named Winston, who she treated, by her own description, like a small, judgmental roommate. She had no history of mental illness, no substance issues, no financial problems, no reason on earth to walk out of her life voluntarily. And yet, she was gone. The man who lived directly across the street from Claire at number 11 Harrow Lane was named Edwin Marsh. Edwin was 71 years old, a retired postal worker who had spent 29 years delivering mail to the same neighborhoods he had grown up in. He had never married, had no children, and had lived in that small house for 22 years. In the way that happens in close neighborhoods, Edwin had quietly become a fixture of Harrow Lane, the man who was always there, always watching, always ready with a slow nod and a good morning. Every day, without exception, he would emerge from his front door at 7 a.m. He would settle into his wooden porch chair, wrap both hands around a mug of black coffee, and simply watch. He watched the street wake up. He watched the kids leave for school. He watched the mail arrive, something his former colleagues found amusing. He watched everything. Claire's friends had nicknamed him the human security camera, partly as a joke, partly because it was completely accurate. Edwin noticed things that other people walked right past. On the morning of September 21st, 2023, Edwin Marsh did not come inside for lunch. His neighbor Patricia noticed his coffee mug sitting on the porch table at 2 in the afternoon. Still there, cold, untouched since morning. She walked over. Edwin was in his chair. He had died of a cardiac arrest, peacefully, in the place he loved most in the world. The coffee beside him had gone cold. The street he had watched for 2 decades was carrying on without him. Maple Creek grieved in the quiet way that small communities do, flowers left on the porch, a short notice in the local paper. And then, as life always does, it moved on. Nobody knew yet what Edwin had left behind inside that house. Nobody knew yet how much they would need it. Detective Sarah Nolan received the missing persons report on the morning of October 15th, filed by Claire's closest friend, a woman named Jess. Jess had been trying to reach Claire since the previous evening. She had called 7 times. She had sent 12 text messages. She had even driven to Harrow Lane at midnight and knocked on the door. No answer, lights off, no movement inside. By morning, Jess knew in her gut that something was wrong, and Detective Nolan knew it within 5 minutes of walking through the front door. Because Claire had not taken anything. Not her phone, which was sitting face down on the kitchen counter, fully charged. Not her car keys, which were hanging on the small hook beside the front door, exactly where they always lived. Not her wallet, not her passport, not a single change of clothes. Everything was left behind. And Winston, the cat, had not been fed since the morning of the 14th. Anyone who knew Claire Dawson knew that leaving Winston without food was something she was simply not capable of doing. That detail alone told Detective Nolan everything she needed to know. Claire did not leave. Claire was taken. The canvass of Harrow Lane produced almost nothing. Neighbor after neighbor reported the same thing. They had seen nothing unusual on the evening of the 14th, heard nothing, noticed nothing. One elderly woman, 2 houses down, thought she might have seen a car she didn't recognize parked on the street around 10 p.m., but she couldn't be sure of the make or color, and she hadn't thought anything of it at the time. The doorbell cameras in the area were reviewed. 2 houses had them, but both were angled toward their own driveways and captured nothing useful. The street itself had no CCTV coverage. Whoever had taken Claire had chosen their moment carefully, and had chosen Harrow Lane specifically because it was the kind of quiet, unmonitored street where a person could disappear in the dark without leaving a trace. Except they hadn't counted on Edwin Marsh, or rather they had, because Edwin was already dead. What they hadn't counted on was what Edwin had left behind. Detective Nolan knocked on the door of number 11 on the afternoon of October 16th, expecting nothing. The house had been empty for 3 weeks. But as she turned to leave, a car pulled up and a woman got out. Her name was Donna. She was Edwin's niece, and she had driven up from Salem to begin the slow, sad process of clearing out her uncle's belongings. When Nolan explained why she was there, Donna's expression shifted. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said 4 words that would change the entire direction of the investigation. She said, "You need to come inside." And she led the detective straight to the study. Edwin Marsh had been keeping a journal for 4 years. Not a personal diary, not the kind filled with feelings and memories. This was something else entirely. It was a record, a log, written in Edwin's neat, careful postal worker handwriting, page after page after page of observations, dates, times, license plate numbers, descriptions of vehicles, of people, of anything unusual he had noticed from his porch. It was meticulous in a way that felt almost professional. He did it because he was Edwin, because he noticed things, because he believed that paying attention to the world was what a responsible person did. Detective Nolan stood in that study and turned the pages slowly, and by the time she reached the final entry, her hands were not steady. Edwin had first noted the gray van on October 1st, 13 days before Claire disappeared, and 20 days before his own death. He had written, "Gray Dodge-style van, no visible plates, parked on the east side of Harrow Lane, facing number 14. Engine running approximately 11 p.m., departed after 40 minutes. No one observed entering or exiting." Then again on October 8th, same vehicle, same location, same time, same behavior, engine running, no movement facing Claire's house. And then a third time on September 20th, the night before his heart attack, the same van, the same position, and this time Edwin had written something more. He wrote, "This van has now appeared 3 times, always late, always facing her house. I don't like it. I have a bad feeling I cannot explain. Tomorrow morning I will call the non-emergency line and report it. Or perhaps I will simply walk across the street and ask Claire if she has noticed it herself. I should have done something sooner. I should have said something sooner." And then, below that, written once more and underlined twice, as if Edwin himself needed to remind himself of the urgency, "I should have done it sooner." Those were the last words Edwin Marsh ever wrote. The next morning, he sat down in his porch chair, and he never got up again. The journey gave Detective Nolan something she hadn't had before, a starting point. She pulled traffic camera footage from every intersection within a half-mile radius of Harrow Lane, going back to October 1st. It took her team 4 days to review it all. On the 3rd day, a junior detective named Reyes spotted it, a gray Dodge Caravan, partial rear plate visible, 7B, and what appeared to be a 4. It appeared on footage from a camera 2 blocks over on 3 separate dates that matched Edwin's log entries exactly. The van was traced to a rental company in Beaverton. The rental had been paid with a stolen Visa card, but the man who rented it had made one critical mistake. He had handed over his real driver's license. Whether it was arrogance or carelessness or simply a moment of bad judgment, they would never know. But that license was in the system, and the name on it was Marcus Webb. Police located Webb 48 hours after identifying him. He was staying at a budget motel on the outskirts of Portland under a false name, paying cash. When officers entered his room, what they found confirmed every fear. There were photographs of Claire's house taken from the street. There was a handwritten schedule of her movements, what time she left for school, what time she returned, which evenings she went out, which nights she stayed in. There was a second phone, a prepaid burner, with a single conversation thread consisting of short clinical messages to an unsaved number. The final message in the thread had been sent at 10:47 p.m. on October 14th. It read, "Done. She is in the unit." Webb was arrested at the motel without incident. He said nothing. He asked for a lawyer, and then the investigation turned to that unsaved number on the burner phone, because Marcus Webb had not done this alone. The number was traced within 72 hours to a prepaid SIM card purchased at a convenience store in Portland, bought 6 months earlier, paid in cash. But the store had security footage, and in that footage detectives recognized a face. It belonged to a woman named Beth Calloway, 31 years old, a teaching assistant at the same elementary school where Claire worked. On the surface, Beth and Claire had been friendly colleagues. They had lunch together. They shared a classroom supply cabinet. They exchanged pleasantries in the hallway every single day for 3 years. But investigators who began pulling Beth's digital history found something deeply unsettling underneath that surface. Browser searches going back 2 years showed a pattern of obsessive research into Claire's personal life, her address, her background, her history. A private social media account and a fake name that had been silently following Claire's public posts for years. And most damning of all, a series of emails to an anonymous address, later confirmed to be Marcus Webb, in which Beth provided Claire's home address, her daily schedule, the layout of her house, and the code to the spare key. Beth had not acted out of fear or coercion or any motive that made simple sense. The investigators who worked the case described it later as one of the most chilling things they had encountered. An ordinary woman smiling across a lunch table, quietly dismantling the life of the person sitting next to her. On the night of October 14th, while Marcus Webb waited outside in the gray van as a distraction, it was Beth Calloway who had let herself in through the back door, and it was Beth who had been waiting inside when Claire came home. Claire Dawson was found alive on October 25th, 11 days after she disappeared. She had been held in a rented storage unit outside the city, kept in the dark with no means of communication. The unit had been rented months in advance under a false name. There was no escape. When the door was opened by police that morning, Claire was sitting in the corner, blinking into the sudden light. She was physically weakened, but alive. Later, Detective Nolan asked how she had survived those 11 days mentally. He asked how she kept herself from giving up. Claire gave an answer that no one in that room expected. She said, "I kept thinking about Edwin, my neighbor Edwin. Every single morning, he would be in that chair watching the street, how nothing got past him. And I thought, if there is any evidence out there, Edwin saw it. I didn't know he was gone. I thought he was still there, still watching. I told myself Edwin will notice. Someone will look. Someone will find it. Hold on." She was right. A man who had been dead for 3 weeks had, through nothing more than a lifetime habit of quiet attention, provided the single piece of evidence that broke the case open. Edwin Marsh never made the phone call he promised himself he would make. He never knocked on Claire's door and asked her about the gray van. He ran out of time in the way that all of us eventually run out of time, suddenly, without warning, on an ordinary morning that felt like every other ordinary morning. But before he ran out of time, he had written it all down, and that was enough. That, in the end, was more than enough. Marcus Webb was convicted on charges of kidnapping, stalking, and unlawful imprisonment in March 2024. He was sentenced to 22 years. Beth Calloway pleaded guilty to conspiracy and kidnapping charges and received a sentence of 12 years. Claire Dawson did not attend either sentencing. She had already left Portland by then, quietly, with her cat, to somewhere she hasn't publicly named. Her friends say she is doing better. She is healing slowly, the way people heal from things they were never supposed to survive. She still teaches. She still reads mystery novels. And somewhere in a storage box she kept from Edwin Marsh's belongings is a small, worn leather journal, full of dates, times, license plates, and careful, patient observations from a wooden porch chair on a quiet street in Portland. A record of everything one man noticed. Evidence that ordinary attention, sustained over years by one quiet soul, can become extraordinary when the moment finally demands it. Look out for each other. Notice things. You never know when it matters. If this story held your attention, drop a comment telling me the moment you first suspected something was wrong. Share this video with someone who loves true crime. Subscribe for more stories like this. Next week we go somewhere considerably darker. I will see you there.